Hello there, this is Jacob Wilson, and today I'm going to be doing an Ikoria limited set review for you in terms of what you should pick in your first pack with your first pick. I'm going to be ranking all 257 cards, easy to understand 1 through 257. There is going to be a tie between rares from number 1 to number 33. And I didn't put too much thought into ranking the rares against each other because there's only one rare per pack. And the way that most people draft is they draft for fun. And if you open a foil mythic rare and a regular mythic rare, most people are just going to take the card that's worth the most money. So I would suggest spending your time thinking about decisions that are actually going to come up often and that are relevant to your life. Don't really bother thinking about what's the best rare in the set for too long. Just compare the rares to the commons and the uncommons. Now you may also be thinking, how can I just trust this random guy to rank all these cards? Well, the set's been out for about a week, I think maybe 10 days. I've done 17 drafts and I've won 9 of them, which is a pretty high rate. I think that's about as high as anyone can expect it to be. And let's take a look here. See, I have 9 trophies. I'm winning a lot. You can see my rating, 1936. I normally fluctuate between 1900 and 2000 on Moto, and in real life, my ELO rating is a bit higher, like 2190. Now let's look at Pro Tour draft trophies. On the left, you can see I'm winning about 1 in 4 of my drafts at the Pro Tour, which is about as good as I could expect to do. I think maybe the best players in the world can win 3 out of every 10, but I think 1 in 4 is about as good as you can see. If you look at this list, it's almost all, Hall of Fame players and cheaters, and I am also the youngest on this list. I'm almost positive about that. I'm definitely several years younger than the average age on this list. And then if you look on the right, I'm winning over 10% more in draft at the Pro Tour than I am in constructed. Alright, here's a quick look at the cards. A little bit of a spoiler. There's all the cards ranked in order. And if you want to look at that image longer, I have a Google Doc that lists all the cards in a nice, easy order that you can refer to, and there'll be pictures there in the description. Number 1, Vivien Monsters Advocate. 3 green for legendary Planeswalker Vivien with 3 loyalty. Has passive ability. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. +1, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Put your choice of a vigilance, reach, or trample counter on it. -2, when you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost put onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Incredible card. Even with just the +1 and -2 it would be good, but with the passive ability, it's incredible. Tied for number 1, Luminous Broodmoth. 2 white, creature insect, 3/4, flying. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. This card is incredible. You can play it, and then you can just suicide attack your creatures. If they block, they just come back with flying now. You can chump block with creatures to power them up. It works really well with sacrifice. And if you have nothing else, it's just a 3/4 flying for 4. Number 1, Gyruda, Doom of Depths. Now we're getting into the companions. 4, hybrid blue-black. Legendary creature, Demon Kraken. 6/6, companion. Your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana costs. I think almost all the companions are worth doing their restriction for. Obviously, it's easier if you get it early on in the draft. If you get it later on in the draft and you can't meet the restriction, They're all also worth just playing in your deck naturally. When Gyruda enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So it's a 6 mana 6/6 that normally comes with another creature. If you mill 8 cards, you're probably going to mill a creature. Gigantha the Wellspring, 4 hybrid red-green, legendary creature elemental elk, 5/5. Companion, no card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its mana cost. This is very easy to achieve in limited. Just don't take double colored cards. And it taps, add white, blue, black, red, green. This mana can't be spent to pay generic mana costs, and generic means colorless. So it's a 5/5 for 5 that's easy to cast because it's hybrid. You can play it in any red deck or any green deck. Mostly you're going to be attacking and blocking with it, but if you want to tap it for mana, you can do that as well. Karuga the Macro Sage, 3 hybrid green-blue, legendary creature dinosaur hippo, 5/4. Companion, your starting deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater and land cards. When Karuga the Macro Sage enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater. This is one of the companions that is great just in your deck. It doesn't have to be your companion. Especially if you get it later in the draft, you might not have enough playables to meet its restriction. If you do want to have this as your companion, you're going to want to have a lot of defensive cards, maybe life gain, cards that catch you up by not doing anything the first few turns. Obosh the Prey Piercer, 3 hybrid black-red, legendary creature Hellion Horror, 3/5. Companion, your starting deck contains only cards with odd converted mana cost and land cards. If a source you control with an odd converted mana cost would deal damage to a permanent or player, deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. Really, really strong. I think this restriction is a lot easier to meet than the even converted mana cost, and it's a lot better. It plays out better. You can fit in odd converted mana cost every turn of the game because of how odd works compared to even. Umori the Collector, 2 hybrid black-green, legendary creature ooze, 4/5. Companion, each non-land card in your starting deck shares a card type. I assume that you're going to choose creature, but if you get the perfect deck with instants and sorceries, not even instant sorceries, you're going to have to choose creature in limited. As Umori the Collector enters the battlefield, choose a card type. Spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. This is hybrid, so you can play it in a lot of different colored decks, but I would recommend green. Green has a lot of really good 6-drops. Because you're going to be playing 23, 24 creatures in your deck, I recommend prioritizing the creatures that have spell-like effects. So I'm talking about, Frost Links, other tappers in white, black cards that destroy creatures, green creatures that give trample, green creatures that, say this creature can deal damage as though it weren't blocked. Because if you play all creatures, you're going to get board stalls. Luckily, this set has creatures with cycling abilities that create triggers that are like spells, and it has some cards that work well with Umori. Yorion Sky Nomad, 3 hybrid white-blue, legendary creature bird serpent, 4/5. Companion, your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck size, so 60 in limited. Flying, when Yorion enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Something to keep in mind about this card, you're going to need to present 60 cards, excluding Yorion. When you draft 59 cards total, 13 cards each pack. So if you want to play this as your companion, don't hate draft, don't take non-basic lands, you need playables. Crystalline Giant, 3 colorless mana, artifact creature giant 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose a kind of counter at random that Crystalline Giant doesn't have on it from among Flying, First Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, Vigilance, +1/+1. Put a counter of that kind on Crystalline Giant. This card is incredible. When we're speaking about Pack1 Pick ones, this card is great because you're going to play it no matter what. It's colorless. What you're really hoping for on the first few counters are +1/+1 or Hexproof to protect it. But really, there's nothing you can do about that other than pray. Lutri the Spellchaser. 1 hybrid blue-red, hybrid blue-red. Legendary creature, elemental otter, 3/2. Companion. Each non-land card in your starting deck has a different name. This is the easiest companion to meet its restriction in limited. You just can't play doubles of cards. Flash. When Lutri the Spellchaser enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. If you're playing this card, I really recommend taking 1 and 2 mana instants and sorceries that are good. Not that are good, that you might not play in other decks, but because you can get value out of them with this card. What I mean by that are combat tricks, maybe 1 or 2 mana combat tricks that aren't necessarily good normally, but if you can double the bump, that's good. Adventurous Impulse, any other card that draws a card, Cathartic Reunion, Anticipate, cards like that. Luris of the Dream Den, hybrid white-black, hybrid white-black, and 1 colorless mana. Legendary creature, Cat Nightmare, 3/2. Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. Lifelink. During each of your turns, you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. This is a restriction that is pretty costly and limited. If you get it late, you might not be able to meet its restriction. Just play it in your deck anyway. It's an incredible card. If you get it early, you can just build your deck around that. This works really well with enchantment removal. Everquill Phoenix, 2 red, creature Phoenix, 4/4. Mutate, 3 and a red, flying. Whenever this creature mutates, create a red artifact token named Feather. With 1, sacrifice Feather, return target Phoenix card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So this card is incredible. If you don't have any creatures to mutate, it's a 4 mana 4/4 flying. If you do have a creature to mutate onto, you can attack right away with a flyer, and you're going to get this token that can rebuy your Phoenix if it is to be killed. Mythos of Aluna, 2 blue sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. If red-green was spent to cast this spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent, except the token has when this permanent enters the battlefield. If it's a creature, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Even if you're not Teamer, you should play this and first pick it in your deck. Something to really keep in mind is it says target permanent. You can target lands, enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers. It really answers it all. If you are Teamer, that's a nice bonus. If you want to play around removal spells, try targeting your opponent's permanents. Voracious Greatshark, 3 blue, creature shark, 5/4. Flash. When Voracious Greatshark enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell. Very simple card to get a 2-for-1 with. You can play it, counter their spell. If they attack with a creature with 3 power or less and 5 toughness or less, you can just flash it in, not utilize the counter, but use it as an ambush. One way or another, you should be able to get 2 cards out of this card. Dirge Bat, 2 black, creature bat, 3/3. Mutate, 4 black, flash, flying. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Incredible. It's flash, flying, 3/3 for 4. You can ambush things, you can get in for damage early. Mutate, you can destroy a creature or planeswalker, and maybe you can mutate multiple times because it has flash. You can do it end of turn and main phase on your turn. Extinction Event, 3 black, sorcery. Choose odd or even. Exile each creature with converted mana cost of the chosen value. 0 is even. This card is incredible. It's kind of like a Wrath of God. It may seem like it's symmetrical, but because you know it's in your hand and in your deck, you can keep it in mind when you're playing. Very easy to get a 2-for-1. Very easy to plague win the opponent and win the game. It also exiles instead of destroys, which is relevant against many cards in the set. Mythos of Nethroi, 2 and a black instant. Destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if green-white was spent to cast the spell. So what that means is unless you're Abzan, it can only destroy a creature, but that's fine. It's 2 and a black, destroy target creature. Easier to cast than murder. Incredible card. Mythos of Vadrok, 2 red sorcery. Mythos of Vadrok deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. If white-blue was spent to cast this spell, until your next turn those permanents can't attack or block and their activated abilities can't be activated. Most of the time you're not going to be using the Jeskai part, you're just going to deal 5 damage, kill 2 or 3 creatures or 1 big creature. If you are white-blue, you can use it as, a falter that's even better. It's a falter and it means you can't get attacked next turn. Kogla the Titan Ape, 3 green, 7/6 legendary creature ape. When Kogla the Titan Ape enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Whenever Kogla attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. 1 and a green, return target human you control to its owner's hand. Kogla gains indestructible until end of turn. This card has a lot going on. It's nice to have random artifact and enchantment destruction in your deck. It's nice to have a removal spell that's attached to a creature. It's nice to gain indestructible, rebuy humans. Definitely all together, wrapped up, worth first picking. Lucca, Coppercoat, Outcast. 3 red, legendary planeswalker Lucca, 5 loyalty. +1, exile the top 3 cards of your library. Creature cards exiled this way gain, you may cast this card from exile as long as you control a Lucca planeswalker. -2, exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -7, each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So this planeswalker cannot protect itself, doesn't affect the board right away, but it creates a lot of card advantage. If you have a bomb creature in your deck that costs a lot of mana, then you can tutor it into play under the right circumstances, and the ultimate is going to win the game very quickly, and you're going to be able to use the ultimate on turn 7. Cheville, Bane of Monsters. Green, black, legendary creature, human rogue, 1/3. Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if your opponents control no permanents with bounty counters on them, put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls with a bounty counter on it dies, you gain 3 life and draw a card. There's a lot of removal in this set. It's very, very easy to snowball the game in your favor with this card by just pairing it with removal spells. If you don't have any, it's also 1/3 Death Touch that makes it so that if they trade anything that you target with this bounty counter, then you're going to get 2-for-1. Brokos, Apex of Forever. 2 black, green, blue, 6/6, legendary creature, nightmare, beast, elemental. Mutate, 2 green, hybrid, blue-black. Trample, you may cast Brokos, Apex of Forever from your graveyard using its mutate ability. So this is part of a cycle. There's 5 apexes of each shard or wedge, and the thing to note about them is that they take 3 colors of mana to hard cast, but if you mutate, they're easier to cast. All the mutate costs include hybrid. So it's fine to first pick these because they're a little bit flexible. You can splash them, and this card can never die. You can just keep casting it over and over from your graveyard. Iluna, Apex of Wishes. 2 green, blue, red, 6/6. Legendary creature, beast, elemental, dinosaur. Flying, trample. Mutate, 3 blue, blue, red, green hybrid. Whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. Pretty incredible. Flying trample, 6/6 for 5 mana. If you mutate it, you get to cascade into a permanent. Nethroi, Apex of Death. 2 white, black, green. Legendary creature, cat, nightmare, beast. 5/5. Mutate, 4 black, black, hybrid, green, white. Death Touch, lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creatures with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Great card. When you hardcast it, should be game winning if you mutate. Snapdax, Apex of the Hunt. 1 red, white, black. Legendary creature, dinosaur, cat, nightmare. 3/5. Mutate, 2 white, white, hybrid, black, red. Double strike. Whenever this creature mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature, planeswalker, and opponent controls. You gain 4 life. Good if you can hardcast it for Mardu, and if you mutate it, think of it like something like Tolstomir or Enter the God Eternals, except better. Vadrox, Apex of Thunder. Blue, red, white. Legendary creature, elemental, dinosaur, cat. 3/3. Mutate, 1 red, red, white, blue, hybrid. Flying, first strike. Whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. There's a lot of removal and card draw in this set. Very easy to turn this into a winning play. Quartzwood Crasher. 2 red, red, green. Creature, dinosaur, beast. 6/6. Trample. Whenever one or more creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. This card is undercosted, and there are many, many cards in red-green that have trample. There are even cards in red-green that have trample that say creatures you control with trample may deal damage as though they were not blocked. So this card it's kind of has haste if you already have creatures in play. Very easy to end the game quickly. Riel the Everwise. 1 blue, red. Legendary creature, human wizard, 0/3. Riel the Everwise gets +1/+0 for each instant sorcery card in your graveyard. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. Very simply put, whenever you cycle a card, you get 2 cards. If you want to pair it with Cathartic Reunion and cards like that, Channeled Force, you can really go off. Winota, Joiner of Forces. 2 red, white. Legendary creature, human warrior. 4/4. Whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. The Jeskai colors kind of have a theme where they want to have a human and a non-human in play. So there's going to be additional synergies more than just your Winota. Very powerful card, 4/4/4. It has pseudo haste and gains card advantage. General Kudro of Drannith. 1 white, black. Legendary creature, human soldier, 3/3. Other humans you control get +1/+1. Whenever General Kudro or another human enters the battlefield under your control, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. 2 mana, sacrifice 2 humans, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. There are a lot of human tokens in the set. There's another human anthem in the set. There are a lot of human creature commons that produce 2 humans. Very easy to build your deck around this card if you take it early. Frondland Felidar. 2 green, white. Creature, cat, beast, 3/5. Vigilance. Creatures you control with Vigilance have 1 mana, tap target creature. It's pretty hard to kill a creature with 5 toughness. Green-white has a Vigilance theme. It's easy to get a lot of creatures with Vigilance and dominate the board if this card stays in play. Fiend Artisan. Hybrid green-black, creature nightmare, 1/1. Fiend Artisan gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. X, hybrid green-black, tap, sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only as a sorcery. This card gets big quickly. It's only 2 mana. And if you get any bombs, easy to tutor them up. This set has a lot of sacrifice synergies. It's easy to get cards that trigger when they die, or tokens. Very easy to make this card work for you. Now we reach the last rare that I would first pick before the best uncommon. Skycat Sovereign. White-blue, creature elemental cat, 1/1, flying. Skycat Sovereign gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with flying. 2 white-blue, create a 1/1 white cat bird creature token with flying. Only costs 2 mana. White-blue has a flying theme. You can get other cards that synergize with this, and it's an army in a bottle. Army in a can win the game on its own. Now we're making our way to the uncommons. And back to more rares, but this is the best uncommon. Valiant Rescuer. 1 and a white, creature human soldier, 3/1. Whenever you cycle another card for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 human soldier token, creature token. Cycling 2. There's a cycling theme in this set. There's a lot of 1-cost cyclers in this set. Basically, you can cycle on your turn and their turn, create a token at 2 tokens per turn, and deal them 3 damage a turn. And in case you already have some of these in play, in your top deck one, you can cycle it. Incredible card. Number 3, Zenith Flare. 2 red-white, instant. Zenith Flare deals X damage to any target and you gain X life, where X is the number of cards with a cycling ability in your graveyard. The important thing about this card is that you can target players. So it's very easy to get in a little bit of damage here and there, cycle 5 to 10 cards, and then kill your opponent with this card, win a race. Very easy to play the game if this card is in your deck. Now we reach the best common. This is the first common that I would take above other great rares and uncommons. Farfinder. 3 colorless mana, creature fox, 1/1 vigilance. When Farfinder enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. What makes this card good is that there's a 3-color theme in this set, so you're often playing 3 colors or splashing, and there's a mutate theme in the set, so you're really looking for non-human creatures that are 2-for-1s that have a good ability, and this has everything all in one package. A lot of times when you mutate and then they play a removal spell, you get 2-for-1, but if you mutate onto the Farfinder, you don't mind if it gets killed, and if it does work out, Vigilance is a good ability to add to a mutate creature. Now we're back to some rares. Lavabrink Venturer. 2 and a white, creature human soldier, 3/3. As Lavabrink Venturer enters the battlefield, choose odd or even. Lavabrink Venturer has protection from each converted mana cost of the chosen value. Keep in mind that protection stops everything, including your own cards. So if you have combat tricks, fight spells, keep that in mind. Most of the removal in the set is even, but if the board state has a lot of odd and even converted mana cost, you'll have to make that decision yourself. Okay, that's about 30 minutes. Join me for part 2, where we'll go over the next cards.